Welcome to Are You Killing It, the podcast powered by Peak Performance Partners, where our mission is to help your business achieve success faster. I'm your host, Dr. John Ronaldo, and each week our team of business experts brings you the tools, insights, and strategies you need to kill it in your business. No fluff, just real talk to fuel your growth. So, gentlemen, let's dive into another episode. I'm joined here, as always, by Patrick Stewart and Ricky Navarre. How are you guys?
Woo! Great.
Rocking
Excited.
and rolling. Life is good.
Life is great.
I love that we're doing this podcast, and truly, it's really a beautiful thing. Really, are you killing it? That's our goal, right?
Yeah.
Ultimately, is to kind of help folks killing their business. So, whatever we can do to have some conversation around helping our folks that are listening get better at business, that's what we're all about. And kind of the feel of this is really just kind of like, hey, we're at a Starbucks, we're talking shop.
Yep.
Right?
That's it.
And so we're just trying to be conversational about it. We've got some questions I usually plan ahead of time, but really the conversation is not all that scripted. So you get what you get. So just letting you all know. So
It's real talk.
Real talk. So today we're going to talk about feedback that fuels, how to give it, get it, and grow. And feedback, I think, is a really important topic. Some of us are better at giving it and receiving it, and others of us maybe not so much, right? So we're going to delve into this. So Patrick, let me start with you. Feedback. What makes it so difficult for both givers and receivers? Receivers and givers of feedback. Why is this kind of like, oh, I don't want to give feedback, or I don't want to receive feedback? What's the apprehension?
I think it's the mindset of how are you receiving it and how are you giving it. And I think it starts with, again, that we've talked about this many times, the foundation of trust. If you've deposited into the trust bank, when you go to give feedback, or as one thing we like to call it, feed smack.
That doesn't sound positive.
Yeah. but it truly it's that mindset, right? If you know that the feedback that you're getting, right, is the intent, right? It's positive intent. The intention is positive. And if you'll lead with that, saying, hey, every time somebody's giving me feedback, the reason they're doing it is because they want me to get better. Mm-hmm. And if you can reframe it in your mind with that, instead of they're attacking me, or they're looking at a fault, or they're looking down at me, or they don't like the way I do anything, right? But I think if you can just kind of be able to reframe it to go, hey, the reason they're saying it is because they love me and because they want me to get better, then I can receive it.
That's beautiful, right? And that connects, it's all about trust. If the person giving feedback has built a trusting relationship with the person getting the feedback, it's going to be a lot easier to receive. So go back to our podcast episodes on one-on-ones and the importance of one-on-ones and how this is going to help us in terms of growth and feedback. And certainly, it's about growth ultimately, and it's about trusting in each other to be able to do that. So, Ricky, let me just ask you the same question. What makes it so difficult for people to give and receive feedback?
It really kind of goes back to what Patrick was saying about mindset. And so when they're getting feedback, sometimes people, well, you don't know, you don't understand. It's their mindset of how they're kind of programmed to view feedback. And when they have typically gotten into conversations with somebody, if you have somebody who's going to share their observation with you, that perception is like, well, you don't know. You're wrong, especially if we use terms like we talked about before. You always do this. You never do this. Well, that's not the case, right? And it puts us on our heels, and suddenly we're in defense mode. And by design, when it comes to feedback, there's fight, flight, or freeze. And what person are you when you get that feedback, if you will? The person giving the feedback, they sometimes don't realize their tone, and so it's one of those things. And you've probably heard this before. Hey, it's not what you said. It's how you said it. And it's that moment where it's like, hey, what you said wasn't wrong. It's how you said it. And when they get them with that, how you said it felt very attacking. It felt very demeaning, right? It's like, how can someone be in the right place? Well, that's when they get triggered to fight, flight, or freeze. And there's a lot of the past experience they had going into that. So that's part of the challenge. But Patrick said, he said it correctly, is if they can assume the positive, which is easier said than done, but if you can assume, hey, this person's sharing something with me that they observed, they might be right, they might be wrong, but if you take it from a position of, hey, they probably had the best intent, even if their tone wasn't the best, They probably have my best intentions in mind. I want to receive it. And can you set your mind up to saying, hey, I received that as a gift? So.
And I want to shatter something. I think that, when we talk about feedback, I think we automatically move to negative, right? And I think we need to understand that feedback in and of itself is neutral. The word feedback, right? And that because we should, as leaders, as supervisors, as managers, should be providing feedback that's both positive and maybe constructive or negative or whatever term you want to use for the feedback that's going to help people grow. But even the positive feedback is going to help people grow, because the idea is, hey, what you did, the behavior you just did, create a positive impact in our organization or that sale or whatever it was. Keep it up, right? We want to keep encouraging that. So that's also about growth, right? So we want to make sure that we're both using feedback to affirm, but also feedback to help people understand the consequences of maybe behavior that's not as efficient or productive. What's the difference then, Patrick, between feedback that really fuels growth and feedback that shuts people down, right? There's a way to deliver it and there's a way to not deliver it.
Yeah, I think, again, and I think one of the things that we want to be doing, right, is creating the feedback loops, right? So getting and giving feedback and creating, framework within your business that you're setting up a opportunity to receive feedback and opportunity to give feedback. But I think the thing is, on the mindset side, you've got to realize that you want to get it. You're going to get it as a gift, and you're giving it as a gift. So I think that's kind of the area. But rephrase the statement again, the question, so I can answer.
Yeah. So what's the difference between feedback that fuels growth and feedback that shuts people down?
Yeah. So I would just say this. It goes back to the intent, the intent of the feedback, but also I think using absolute statements. Right. So one of the things that we train and we do within our company a lot, we use this little phrase, in my opinion. Hey, in my opinion, I don't like the color of that shirt, right? Okay, you can be like, okay, good, that's your opinion. But if I go, you know what, I don't like the color of that shirt, right? Or I don't like the way you did this, but I think, so you've got to be able to, it's the way that you position the information. But again, I would just say, from a difference between positive and negative, it truly is going to be, have you built the trust with the person so they can receive both?
Yeah. Ricky, same question for you. Like what's the stuff that shuts people down and what's the stuff that really lifts people up?
Well, again, I'm going to go back to tone. Tone is one of the biggest things that people don't understand. But in communication, the thing that most people don't realize, they think the words are the most important part of the message. Words are only 7% of the message. Out of 100% that make up the message, there's tone that we use, the words we use, and our body language. And so if we're coming across, and what I'm trying to say is right now is tone and body language, over 90% of the message you're delivering, you're not even verbalizing. And therefore, it's really, really important with how you step into that feedback, that you have the right body language, right, and the right tonality, that somebody can receive, that they're not immediately put on their heels. And that's where I would say, hey, are you coming in with the right framework, the right mindset? Did you just get a bad message? Did you just receive something, right? And you're going to go in and correct this person when you're hot. You got to be very intentional, very understanding of your emotions, and it comes from emotional intelligence. So situational intelligence and emotional intelligence are two things that you need to take into consideration when you're going in to give that feedback. Because you might also say, hey, I've got to go deliver this message. You walk in to deliver said message, and again, like I said, you might have come out of just a really bad meeting, and now you're going to go in and you're hot, and I've got to correct this. Probably not the time to do it. All right, take a beat. The other thing is, where are they at in perspective? I'm trying to think of the word. I'm just trying to blank on it. But where are they at in their world, in their moment? Did they just have a bad situation? Are they open to receiving?
Are they in a space to receive?
Thank you.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Are they in a space to receive what you're about to share?
And
with
are
them?
you in a space to give it in a way that's productive?
And what is the purpose? What truly is the purpose of the feedback you're getting? Is it to cut them down, or is it to build them up?
Yeah, that's
Is it to
the
correct
mindset.
them?
Right.
or is it to lift them?
Well, I think for me too, one of the things that the feedback that I have received and given that's been helpful is tied to behavior and connected to the consequences of that behavior. And I think that's something that's often missing for folks that understand, like, hey, you showed up late. Can you not show up late anymore? Okay, that may be important to be able to communicate, but why is being on time important? Obviously, that's kind of an easy one, but it's one thing to say, hey, when you show up late to a meeting, Patrick, it makes our meeting run longer, and we don't have you to share the information that we need to have a productive meeting. Can you show up on time next time?
Yeah.
Right, that type of thing. So they can understand the consequences of behavior. Same thing on the positive, right? Hey, Patrick, when you show up to a meeting on time, we're able to start our meeting, and we get all the information that we need. It makes for a productive meeting. Keep it up.
Yeah.
Right. And so it needs to be tied to behavior that's visible, right? Attitude is not really visible. It could be a little subjective. It's like, Ricky, why do you have such a negative attitude? I don't think Ricky's ever had a negative attitude. Patrick, why do you have a negative attitude? Why do you have a negative attitude? That's not helpful feedback, right? So I think we need to focus on behavior, but then tie it to the consequences, both positive or negative, so they can understand, oh, now I'm understanding why being on time is important, or now I'm understanding why the way I answered that call was really good for the sales cycle, right?
That's a good one.
We talk about mindset, right? And we talk about feedback loop. Patrick, you were talking about that. I'm a leader, I'm a business owner, listening, watching our podcast here.
Yep.
How can we build a culture in our organization where feedback is normal and welcomed?
Yeah, and I would say that's probably one of the biggest challenges, right? Is and I think because what happens is sometimes business owners, because they want to fix everything, they want to correct everything, so they're always just looking for what's wrong, because that's how you get better, is by fixing what's wrong. So I think they're walking around in this mindset of like, hey, I've got to turn over, I got to find where the mistakes are and then point out the mistakes, because I need to correct that, right? So I think it's the mindset of the business owner typically, or the leader, the division leader or manager, like, hey, go around, what is the outcome and the intent that you're looking to provide? And then what is the type of feedback? And I would say this, when you're giving feedback, if people understand, I kind of talk about a lot of times when I'm doing training, I go, the issue. If this is the issue in the center of the room and we're all talking and we're attacking this issue, okay, so almost depersonalizing everything, even though, guess what? I'm the one that created the issue, right? My lack of doing something or created, and I'll just say, pretend I created a lawsuit, right? But if we're talking about the lawsuit and then we're not getting personal, hey, we're not going back to, hey, why'd you send the email, or why didn't you follow up like you should have followed up, and all this stuff going, no, hey, we're dealing with the issue, and then we're not going to take it personal, right? We're not going to make personal attacks on it. We're going to go, okay, how do we address this situation the best? We have a high turnover, right? Okay, Ricky, your department is the one that has the highest turnover. So I'm not attacking Ricky, right? Although it feels like it, because I just said his name and it's his department, so he knows he's accountable for his whole department. But we really want to address the high turnover in that department. And so I think it's creating, when you're able to have as an organization, and it's funny, I kind of look at our quarterly board meetings that we have. The first few quarterly board meetings, or I would say the first maybe year, 2 years, there would be some heated conversations. The last ones, even though there were heated topics, there were no heated conversations, because we knew it wasn't, there was no personal attacks at all. We were attacking the situation that needed to be addressed and needed to be, so that we come up with the best solution for it. But so I think it just is creating, we talked about it before, that foundation of trust. And how do you create trust? You create trust by having conversations, open dialogue, being able to get, also feedback on the management side. I mean, recently we had, somebody had said, hey, Patrick, we needed this, It kind of made me feel this way. And I had to step back and really kind of empathize and go, if I was in his position and that same thing happened, I'd probably be frustrated too. I go, you know what? That's a good point. Because when I made the decision, or when I was going through that, I didn't even think about that. And now that you're saying it, I think if I could go back and redo it again, I actually would have done I would have done more of what you said. Maybe the outcome would have not been different, but I would have had a different dialogue with you. That's a good point. So I think being able to have some empathy when you're talking to somebody, hey, where is their head? What are they thinking? What are they going through?
How long should we wait to give feedback after we observe whatever behavior that's positive or negative and effectively the organization? Like, how long should we wait? Should we wait at the end of the year and add it to the performance evaluation?
Absolutely. Put it in your file.
Put it in the file.
I observed it. It's in the file.
Yeah. I say organizations that there's no gap between see and say. Like there's zero gap. Mm-hmm. Organizations that have shortened that gap, they're the ones that are excelling. That's industry leading organizations.
I totally agree with you, and it kind of sets you up for that, right? Because obviously we joke about giving a performance evaluation, but we know there are organizations who like wait to the performance evaluation to give them all the negative feedback in particular, and the guy's feeling like, well, what the heck? That was like 9 months ago, and I've been operating this way for 9 months. Why didn't you tell me then? Oh, because I didn't want to hurt your feelings. Like, what? Like, but that's one of the hesitancies, right? People don't give feedback because they don't want to hurt people's feelings. So now you didn't want to hurt somebody's feelings. You waited till the performance evaluation to give feedback, and now everyone's pissed, right? And nobody's happy. It's like, I've been doing this for 9 months, and you're now just telling me, and it's documented in an official kind of document that's going to go in my file. Like, I'm going to flip the table and walk out. I'm out of here, right? So I love that idea, like no gap from see to say, right? Yeah. I really love that. I'm going to hold on to that. I'm going to steal that as well, by the way. Though.
You can have it.
I steal lots of stuff y'all say, just so you know. So the more immediate, the better, right? Because
Absolutely.
when it's fresh, we can do that. But again, Ricky, to your point, we got to make sure they're in a space to hear it. And you're in a space to give it, right? If the energy is flaring, we should probably stay away, at least momentarily, but not for too long.
And I also, but I also would say that beyond that how things are going, I think again, if we can receive it, and we built a culture of I'm going to receive it as a gift, no matter how you deliver it to me. I may not like the package you gave it to me in, but what you said, if there's some truth to what you said, even a little sliver of truth to what you said, I'm going to receive that as a gift. And instead of getting all defensive about, oh, well, he shouldn't have said this, or he made this comment, or you know what about all the times I did right, and he added this to that, and he's wrong there. That's okay. If there was a sliver of truth in what you said to me, no matter how spirited it was, and how many, maybe some, different, 4-letter words that were thrown in there, I'm going to receive it as a gift because I'm like, hey, and again, that's that receiver's mindset that goes, hey, if you can receive it as a gift and take it to say, hey, they're doing that because they want me to get better. And I just think it's that. So if you can, now what happens is this, it doesn't matter how people are giving you and when they're saying it and how they're saying it, you're like, hey, I'll receive that as a gift. I'll receive that as a gift. I'll receive that as a gift.
And it becomes easier, though, with that trusting relationship, right? And I think it's important. I'm not a fan of counting how many times you give positive versus constructive feedback. Like, no one's going to do that, right? But I think it's important that we are using feedback as a tool to kind of affirm as well. And I think that's what a lot of people miss, and why a lot of people have a negative attitude towards feedback and have a hard time receiving it is because it's always negative. It's always constructive. And again, I'm not about counting, make sure you have equal amount of good and bad feedback. Like, no, we shouldn't be doing that. But there's probably a lot more good things that our team does than there are bad things that they need correcting.
Absolutely.
So we should name those things and celebrate those.
Well, and I think it's also, that's where if you can start to create some frameworks and around how you deliver things, right? And so one of the frameworks that we teach on in the performance review style is the trust performance axis. So you got trust on one axis and performance on the other, and we want you a 10 and a 10. But so now what happens is when you do something that breaks down the trust, because I would say the worst employees are the ones that have a 2 or 3 trust, but their performance is a 10.
Absolutely.
Because when they show up, they're going to be amazing. And what they do something, they're going to be, but you just can't trust them, right? They're going to be dishonest at some point, whether you don't trust that they'll even show up. But when you can start to use those frameworks of conversations that say, hey, you know what, John, when you came in and I asked you, remember if you had done this and followed up on that, and then I found out you didn't, that's what brings you down from a 10 in the trust, right? And your performance is, man, it's amazing when but like, hey, when I was looking at your time card and man, you're pretty much 15 minutes late, between 10 and 15 minutes late all the time, or you don't clock out for lunch and we always got to go correct it. That's where, again, that trust, you're bringing it down. And I need you at a 10. I want you at a 10. But that's like a 3-4 trust level kind of thing. So can we, back to your point, can we work on that? So you're showing them, you're helping connect the dots. But I think when you can have those kinds of, again, conversations around frameworks that you've created where everybody realizes this is the dialogue we're going to be using. And then the same, hey, if I'm the manager and I let you down, you go, hey, Patrick, you said you were going to do this for me, da-da-da-da-da. That's breaking my trust. Mm-hmm. That's not a 10. And I'm like, oh, again, I'm going to receive that gift and be like, you're right.
And then it goes back to growth mindset too, right? Like, as a leader, we just asked the question about how do we build that culture? Well, ultimately, like if me as a leader, as a business owner, as a supervisor, as whatever, am constantly trying to learn and grow and can take that, then it makes it that much easier for the team to follow suit. Mm-hmm. So we've got to have that attitude. Yeah, we have to model. We have to have that attitude, and then they will follow suit. So when I give them feedback, they're more likely to receive it, positive or constructive, because they know that I'm trying to learn, I'm trying to grow, I'm trying to make this business better, I'm trying to get better at this, and I want everybody to get better, right? Mm-hmm. Growth is non-negotiable. Yeah. Right. We're all growing together as a team, and this is really connected. We keep going back to one-on-ones here, but like this is important to one-on-ones, and like why we have one-on-ones again. Trust and relationship building, and so when you start building that trusted relationship, and they know that you have their back, they'll take the feedback, positive or negative.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's why like you got to do one-on-ones. This is not meant to be a one-on-one conversation, but we're going to come back to that topic because that's where it begins, right? Patrick Lencioni talks about that 5 dysfunctions of a team, right? He's got that little pyramid. I forget what he calls it. But what's at the bottom is trust.
Trust.
Right? And
trust.
you can't do anything else on that pyramid without trust. And I feel like the word trust has been said a million times just in the last few episodes of this podcast. Not just today, but the podcast from last week and the week before.
And I think and to that point, right? Putting into your meetings trust building type of games or some.
Let's go do a ropes course.
Yeah, just anything like that, right? Where you're asking some personal questions, you're opening up the trust vault, and again you're making those deposits because you will need to withdraw at some point.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. I love it. Ricky, final word on this at all?
One of the things I will add to it is. Try to be as consistent as possible and balanced if possible. Again, that's where the if with both positive and negative feedback. Patrick said it at the very beginning of this of the podcast. We're very used to looking for problems, especially as a business owner. There's a problem, I need to address it. And I'm not saying many business owners, leaders, people in positions of authority, typically they have this mindset of, look, they're doing the job they're supposed to be doing, so why should I acknowledge and praise that? Like, I'm not going to praise them for doing their job. Totally. It's the moment they're not doing their job, I need to correct it. And therefore, the person receiving the feedback feels at times, man, anytime I'm getting corrected, there's not a positive affirmation to it. It's a negative correction. I'm being corrected. And now you are the person that when they see you and you go have a conversation with them, they're already triggered. I know I'm going to get negative feedback. I know I'm going to get a corrective action of some kind. And they're not in that place of, they've got my back. They're giving me the boat. They see my good and my bad. They're just, you always just see the bad. You always just see the bad. They always just see the bad. And then that person carries that with them. If you're a leader giving that feedback, try as much as possible to both acknowledge the good and the bad. Be balanced so that when you come to them, they know, hey, they see me holistically, and therefore the feedback you're giving them is coming from a place of, hey, I want you to holistically be better, not just I've got to keep correcting this behavior.
I roll my eyes at people who say that, who managers who say that, like, hey, they're doing their job. I shouldn't have to affirm them doing their job. Like, dude, if you want them to stay and you don't want to deal with turnover and you want to let them know they're doing a good job, yeah, you should, even if it is their job. I get it's what they're paid to do, but like they need that feedback as well. So I totally agree with you. What a great conversation. I think there's more that we can go into in terms of feedback there, but I appreciate that very much. And so feedback needs to be part of your repertoire. If you're a leader, supervisor, business owner, you got to make feedback a reality.
I got a couple books. Radical Candor. We talked about that one before.
Absolutely.
And I would say Crucial Conversations.
Okay. Crucial Conversations.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm
Get
always
some
writing down
frameworks.
books, every time I get in this room, this podcast room, writing down books. Excellent. So thanks again, Patrick, Ricky, for another great episode of the Are You Killing It podcast, powered by Peak Performance Partners. We're so glad you are on the journey with us as well. Looking forward to seeing you in the next episode every week. We'll be here, so stay tuned, subscribe, follow, listen, share. We love having you guys here. Take care, everybody.